The night began quiet. Too quiet for men trained to fear silence. Cold air slid through the valley like a blade. The SEAL team crouched behind shattered concrete, their breaths fogged in the moonlight. Commander Hayes lifted his fist. Everyone froze. The radio hissed softly against his ear. Static. Then a whisper. Enemy movement, North Ridge. Hayes felt sweat crawl down his spine. This mission was supposed to be clean. Grab the target. Extract before dawn. Now the darkness felt crowded. A boot scraped stone somewhere above them. Hayes clenched his jaw. Too close. Too many unknowns. Rounds cracked the air without warning. Concrete exploded into white dust. A SEAL screamed as he went down. Blood sprayed warm across Hayes's gloves. The smell of iron filled his nose. Another burst tore through the night. They were pinned. Outgunned? The radio erupted with overlapping voices. Shouts. Curses. Fear leaking through discipline. Hayes pressed his forehead to the dirt. He tasted grit and regret. This was his call. He had brought them here. Thermal scopes flared on the ridge. Red silhouettes multiplied. Too many. Hayes felt the weight of command crush his chest. He keyed the mic with a shaking thumb. "All teams," he said. His voice sounded older than he felt. "Prepare to break contact." Another man cried out. Then another. The night echoed with gunfire and pain. Hayes swallowed hard. His heart hammered like it wanted out. "It's over," he screamed. The words tore free before he could stop them. The firing slowed. Almost mocking. Enemy voices shouted in a language he didn't know. Boots shifted closer. Hayes imagined the headlines. The letters to families. The faces he would never forget. Then the world snapped. One shot. Clean. Sharp. Not from the ridge. Not from below. A body fell in silence. Another shot followed. Then another. 3 enemies dropped like strings were cut. Confusion rippled through the night. Hayes lifted his head. His scope scanned the far skyline. Nothing. No muzzle flash. No sound but wind. A chill ran through him. He knew the stories. Everyone did. Specter Six. The female ghost sniper. A myth that breathed. A shadow that chose sides. Another single shot rang out. An enemy leader collapsed mid-command. The ridge erupted in panic. Gunfire sprayed wild. Hayes felt hope stab through fear. "Hold," he whispered. No one answered. The air smelled like smoke and rain. Hayes waited for the next shot. His finger tightened on the trigger. Somewhere unseen, Specter Six was breathing. Slow. Measured. Like she owned the dark. Hayes felt every nerve stretch tight. The valley held its breath. Then another crack split the air. An enemy gunner spun backward. His weapon clattered uselessly on rock. The sound echoed too loud. Too final. The SEALs stared through their optics. Trying to find her. Trying to believe. A whispered laugh drifted over the enemy channel. Panicked. Breaking. Hayes felt his pulse slow. Training kicked back in. Hope did that. "Moved!" he hissed. The team crawled forward inches at a time. Hands scraped stone. Knees burned. A flare shot up from the ridge. White light flooded the valley. For one terrible second, they were naked. Exposed. Hayes squeezed his eyes shut. Waiting for death. The flare died. Darkness slammed back in place. Another shot rang out instantly. The man who fired the flare dropped without a sound. Hayes exhaled hard. Almost a laugh. Almost a sob. His radio clicked once. A woman's voice cut through. Low. Calm. "You're still breathing, Commander." Hayes froze. She knew him. "How?" he whispered. No answer. Only wind brushing the mic. Enemy fire broke again. Wild now. Desperate. Hayes felt anger rise. Cold and sharp. All teams, he said. Push while they're blind. They moved. Fast. Violent. Shots echoed. Bodies fell. The ridge began to empty. Then silence returned. Heavy. Unnatural. Hayes scanned the skyline again. Still nothing. His radio clicked once more. You shouldn't have come here, the woman said. Not angry. Not kind. Just truth. Hayes swallowed. We didn't know, he said. A pause. Long enough to hurt. Yes, she replied. You did. A final shot cracked the night. Closer than before. So close Hayes felt it in his chest. Dust puffed inches from his boot. A warning. Or a promise. Hayes looked into the darkness. Heart pounding. Unsure whether he'd just been saved. Or marked. The echo faded fast. Too fast. Hayes didn't move. Neither did his men. The ground felt colder beneath his palms. Like it knew something he didn't. Specter Six, he said quietly. The name tasted wrong in his mouth. No answer. Only wind sliding through dead brush. The ridge stayed dark. Empty. But not abandoned. Hayes felt eyes on him. Not hostile. Judging. A seal shifted behind him. Boot gravel clicked. Hayes raised a hand. Stop. Fear hummed in the air again. Different now. Sharper. Personal. His radio crackled softly. One breath came through. Slow. Controlled. You're standing on a grave, the woman said. Hayes' stomach tightened. Whose? He asked. Silence answered. The smell of burned powder drifted back. Metal and smoke. Memory. Hayes pictured the intel photos. The compound. The target. The wrong target. A weight settled behind his eyes. You took everything, the voice said. Not loud. Not accusing. Certain. Hayes closed his eyes. He saw faces. Heard screams from another night. Another mission. Orders stamped and signed. We were following. Orders don't pull triggers. She cut in. Her words landed like rounds. Precise. Unavoidable. Hayes felt his hand shake. For the first time in years. A distant click echoed. Metal on metal. A bolt sliding home. Too close to be coincidence. Every SEAL felt it. Weapons rose instinctively. Hayes forced them down. No, he said. His voice barely carried. If you wanted us dead, we'd be dead. A breath again. Closer now. Smart, she replied. Leaves shifted behind him. Not footsteps. Something lighter. Faster. Hayes turned slowly. Nothing stood there. Just darkness and cold air. Then her voice came from behind his shoulder. So close he felt it on his skin. Extraction's coming, she whispered. But the debt isn't paid. Hayes' heart slammed hard. He spun. Rifle up. The night was empty. No movement. No sound. Only his own breathing. Heavy. Uneven. A red laser dot appeared on his chest. Perfectly steady. Unblinking. Hayes didn't move. Didn't blink. Above them, rotors began to thrum in the distance. The laser never wavered. The thrum grew louder. Heavy. Relentless. Rescue at last. Or witnesses. Hayes stared at the red dot. It burned against his chest like judgment. He could feel his heartbeat beneath it. Fast. Exposed. A SEAL whispered his name. Hayes didn't answer. He barely breathed. Don't, the woman said softly. Not a threat. A reminder. The dot drifted upward. From his heart. To his throat. Hayes felt his mouth go dry. He thought of his daughter. The way she hugged him too tight before deployments. Like she already knew. The helicopter lights swept across the valley. White beams slicing darkness. Shadows fled. The red dot vanished. Gone as if it had never been there. "Specter Six," Hayes said urgently. "Listen to me." Silence. Only the rotors now. Thunder rolling closer. Rope dropped from the sky. A lifeline swinging. Hayes didn't move toward it. His men hesitated too. They felt it. Something unfinished. The radio clicked one last time. Her voice came through faint. Fading. "This valley remembers," she said. "So do I." Static swallowed the channel. The helicopter hovered overhead. Dust and debris blasted outward. Hayes finally stepped forward. The rope brushed his glove. Warm from friction. Real. Behind him, the ridge stayed dark. Unmarked. Untouched. As if nothing had happened. As if someone hadn't decided their fate. High above, the helicopter began to lift. The valley fell away beneath them. Hayes looked down one last time. He thought he saw a figure. Standing alone. Watching. Then the light shifted. And the valley went black again. The black swallowed everything. The helicopter climbed anyway. Metal groaned. Harnesses pulled tight. Hayes' stomach dropped as the ground vanished. His hands still shook. No one spoke. Not a single joke. Not a single breath wasted. The crew chief shouted over the rotors. Hayes didn't hear him. His eyes stayed locked on the darkness below. Like it might answer back. The valley looked peaceful from above. Too peaceful. A lie wrapped in moonlight. Blood dried stiff on Hayes' sleeve. It cracked when he moved. The smell followed him. Iron. Smoke. Failure. One of his men finally broke. "We were dead," he said. Not asking. Stating fact. Hayes nodded once. His throat felt closed. The radio crackled unexpectedly. Static punched through the cabin noise. Every head snapped toward it. The pilot swore. "Unknown signal," he said. The speakers hissed. Then cleared. Her breathing came through again. Slower now. Closer. Inside the aircraft. Hayes' blood ran cold. "You don't leave war behind," she said. "It just changes altitude." Hayes stood despite the turbulence. "Show yourself," he demanded. A soft sound followed. Not a laugh. Something sadder. "I already did," she replied. A warning tone blared in the cockpit. The pilot shouted, "Incoming lock." Red lights flooded the cabin. Alarms screamed. The helicopter lurched hard to the left. Men slammed into straps. Weapons clanged uselessly. Hayes grabbed a rail. His heart hammered wild. Below them, the valley flashed bright. A single muzzle flare. Impossible range. Impossible angle. The pilot shouted again. "Something just took out our countermeasures." Hayes stared at the floor. At his chest. No red dot. Not yet. The radio clicked one final time. Her voice came through calm as ever. "This isn't the end, Commander." The helicopter shuddered violently. Altitude alarms wailed. Hayes braced himself. As the lights cut out, darkness slammed into the cabin. The alarms died mid-scream. Only the rotors remained. Beating. Fighting. The helicopter dropped hard. Stomachs lifted into throats. Men cursed. Prayed. Clung to straps. Hayes hit the deck on one knee. Cold metal bit through his pants. "Pilot!" he shouted. No answer. Just wind howling through a wounded bird. The smell changed. Burned wiring. Hot oil. Fear thick and sour. Emergency lights flickered red. Then steadied. Barely. The pilot's voice came back. Strained. "We're losing altitude." A pause. Controls are fighting me. Hayes felt the truth settle in his bones. Not mechanical. Intentional. The radio crackled again. Weaker this time. Like she was moving farther away. Or higher. You should have let it end in the valley, Specter Six said. Hayes gripped the rail until his knuckles whitened. You could have killed us, he said. I still can, she replied. No emotion. Just fact. A warning light blinked out. Then another. The helicopter yawed violently. The horizon spun through the open door. Night sky. Mountains. Nothing to grab onto. One of the seals vomited. Another laughed. Sharp. Uncontrolled. Hayes forced himself upright. His mind raced. Distances. Angles. Ghost stories turned real. What do you want? He demanded into the mic. For the first time, she hesitated. The silence hurt more than the answer. Balance, she finally said. The word landed heavy. The helicopter dipped again. Warning tones returned. Louder. Closer to final. Hayes thought of every decision that led here. Every order given without seeing faces. Every target labeled acceptable. The radio hissed. Her voice softened. Almost human. Decide who you are when no one's watching. The signal cut. The helicopter suddenly stabilized. Not safe. But flying. The pilot gasped. We've got control, he said. No one cheered. Hayes moved to the open door. Cold air tore at his face. Far below, the valley stretched wide and dark. Waiting. His radio clicked once more. No voice this time. Just a tone. Coordinates flashed on his screen. Hayes stared at them. His chest tightened. Because he knew that place. And because whatever waited there was not finished with him. Hayes memorized the numbers without blinking. Latitude. Longitude. A scar on the map. The pilot asked if he should log it. Hayes shook his head. No record, he said. His voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. The helicopter limped west. Dawn bled slowly into the sky. Gray. Colorless. No victory in it. A seal sat beside Hayes. You think she's done? The man asked. Hayes watched the horizon. I think she's patient. The landing zone appeared ahead. Floodlights. Medics waiting. Hands reaching up. Normal life pretending nothing had happened. The skids touched down hard. Metal screamed. Then stillness. As Hayes stepped out, the smell of fuel mixed with wet earth. Familiar. Comforting. Wrong. A corpseman grabbed his arm. You're bleeding, sir. Hayes looked down. He hadn't noticed. He pulled free gently. I'm fine, he said. The words felt like a lie rehearsed too long. Behind him, the helicopter shut down. Rotor slowed. Silence crept back in. Not the valley kind. Worse. His radio vibrated once. No sound. Just a text string. One line. Payment pending. Hayes closed his eyes. For a second, he smelled that valley again. Cold air. Dust. Gunpowder. He opened them to daylight. To salutes. To paperwork. To survival. But somewhere far away, a rifle was being cleaned. Carefully. Lovingly. And Specter Six was choosing her next position. The cloth whispered over steel. Oil spread thin and even. A ritual learned the hard way. Hayes sat alone in the briefing room. Lights low. Coffee untouched. The screen glowed with satellite images. The same coordinates pulsed red. Waiting. An analyst cleared his throat. Sir, that site was scrubbed years ago. Hayes didn't look at him. Scrubbed isn't empty, he said. He rubbed his thumb against a scar on his palm. A habit from old nights. The room smelled like burnt coffee and nerves. A junior officer spoke too fast. "Permission to ask, Commander." Hayes nodded once. "Who saved you out there?" Silence fell heavy. Air conditioning hummed like distant rotors. Hayes finally turned. His eyes looked hollow. "No one," he said. That night, he stood on his balcony. City lights blinking below. Cars moving like veins. Life pretending to be simple. His phone buzzed. One message. No sender. A photo loaded slowly. A rifle case. Open. Empty. Then another image. A child's shoe. Burned. Buried in dust. Hayes' breath caught hard. His hands went numb. A final message appeared. Same calm font. Same precision. Tomorrow you choose. Hayes stared into the dark skyline. Somewhere beyond it, a scope was settling. A finger rested on a trigger. And Specter 6 was already watching him breathe. Sleep never came. Dawn crept in anyway. Then, uninvited, Hayes stood in a shower, water scalding. It didn't wash the smell away. Dust stayed in his nose. Smoke stayed in his chest. He dressed in silence. Uniform crisp. Hands steady by force alone. At headquarters, doors opened too easily. Too many nods. Too much respect. A war room filled with screens waited for him. Targets. Maps. Clean lines pretending to be clean choices. An aide handed him a tablet. "High-value confirmation," she said. Hayes looked down. The coordinates matched. Exactly. His pulse thudded once. Hard. The room buzzed with confidence. "We can finish this today," someone said. Finish. The word scraped. Hayes imagined the valley again. The ridge. The bodies falling without warning. The voice in his ear. Calm. Certain. He raised a hand. The room fell quiet. Every eye on him now. Command waiting for shape. For permission. Hayes opened his mouth. Closed it. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Once. He didn't need to look. He already felt her there. Watching. Measuring. A choice balanced on a breath. A life. Many lives. Hayes finally spoke. And somewhere far away, a rifle shifted slightly. "Stand down," Hayes said. The word fell heavy. Unwelcome. Chairs creaked. Someone swore under their breath. "That's not your call alone," a voice snapped. Hayes met it without blinking. "It is today." The screens kept glowing. Targets didn't disappear. They never did. He turned and walked out. Boots echoing too loud in the hall. Outside, the air felt sharp. Clean. Like a lie. His phone buzzed again. A single vibration. He checked it this time. Live feed. Grainy. Black and white. A scope view. Centered on him. Crosshairs steady on his chest. Pedestrians moved behind him. Laughing. Oblivious. Specter 6's voice came through an earbud he didn't remember putting in. "Good choice," she said. Not approval. Acknowledgement. Hayes kept walking. Didn't look around. Didn't run. "Is this how it ends?" he asked. Cars passed. A siren wailed somewhere distant. "No," she replied. "This is how it begins." The crosshairs tightened. Just a fraction. Hayes felt the weight of every order he'd ever given. Every life reduced to coordinates. His phone vibrated once more. New message loading. Before he could read it, the feed froze. The crosshairs vanished. And somewhere above the city, a shot was being lined up. The sound never came. That was the mercy. Or the warning. Hayes stood still as the crowd flowed around him. Phones rang. Lives moved on. The message finally opened. One line. Dead deferred. Choose better. The screen went dark. Hayes exhaled a breath he'd been holding for years. He looked up at the sky. Just clouds. No shadows. No ghosts. He turned away from the building. From the screens. From the clean lies of command. That night, he wrote letters he never sent. Names he never said out loud. He requested reassignment. No reasons given. No medals accepted. Somewhere far from the city. A rifle case clicked shut. Oil wiped clean. Mission paused. Specter 6 watched the world keep spinning, waiting to see if it learned. Hayes walked into the dark without escorts. Without certainty. But with his eyes open. And for the first time, the ghost let him live.